Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. Once again, there's been another lawsuit filed. This time, there's a woman going under the name of Jane Doe to protect her identity. I don't blame her. This woman is alleging quite a few things, actually. It goes right along with everything else that all the other victims are alleging. Y'all know I have to say alleging, alleged, right? One of the things she was alleging is that he got her pregnant, and later on what we'll talk about is that someone else, who will identify later, essentially harassed her to the point where she ended up having a miscarriage, allegedly. Not only is she alleging these things, but she's alleging that P.Diddy Combs drugged her and that there were some other things that happened during that time. She also alleged that he assaulted her and that this all took place over a 4-year period, y'all. 4 years. All this happened in 4 years, starting allegedly in 2020 up to earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken. Now, they kind of reminded everybody about what he's being charged with, some of the more recent things that happened, like him being arrested, etc., before they go into some of the accusations that she made against him. And I quote, the lawsuit includes startling allegations, including claims that Combs forced the unnamed woman to have vaginal intercourse without her consent, drugging her and impregnating her. The lawsuit alleges that Combs and his staff recorded their sexual encounters without consent and caused her to be afraid for her safety, as well as anxiety and depression. The lawsuit also alleges that Combs continued to contact the alleged victim in order to control her actions and autonomy. End quote. Now, her lawyer has been saying basically all of what we've been saying lately, that nobody is above reproach. Nobody is above the consequences of their actions just because he's P.Diddy Combs and he's been skating by all these decades because he could pay people and he has the power and the money and the fame to do it. Does not mean he will not also catch the consequences and the repercussions of his transgressions. Now, I want you to make note of something. Remember when we were talking about that lawsuit with the Dream and the other young lady? If I'm not mistaken, she was from somewhere in Europe. I can't remember where. Somewhere like the Netherlands or something like that. And then when she came over here to pursue a music career, he was, making her all these promises. She didn't quite know the layout of the land, so to speak, because she wasn't from the U.S. So this is kind of giving those vibes. And the reason why I said that is because, and I quote, Jane Doe first met Diddy in fall 2020 overseas after he invited her on a trip, the lawsuit alleges. After visiting him in spring of 2022 in Miami, the lawsuit says she woke up and her feet were purple and bruised with a bite mark on her heel, stating she was unaware of how she got the injuries, end quote. Once again, one of these methods that these people like P.Diddy Combs likes to use is going overseas, getting people who are not from the U.S., bring them back over here, using their star power to lure people in, to manipulate people. It's a very commonly used method. There are even people who are not celebrities who use this method. That's why I don't trust a whole lot of people who like putting out there that they like going overseas to mess with people overseas. This goes for both men and women. You mean to tell me there are billions of people in the United States and you can't find one person that you want to be involved with long term? The devil's a good liar and so are you. The issue is you. You came in contact with somebody somewhere and you probably did them dirty, or you just haven't come in contact with the one who you need to be with at this point. But you chose to make it seem like there was just somebody overseas who you had to take advantage of and that was your only option. Once again, there are people who will go overseas. These people over there will see them. They will be starstruck by their fame, by the money that they have. And they'll say, hey, I can bring you back to my country. I can make things better for you. I can take care of you. I can make your situation better. And they'll even prey upon people who are in bad situations. This kind of stuff happens all the time, whether people want to realize this or not. That's why I was saying it was giving those same vibes concerning that lawsuit that young lady filed against the Dream. Because it says right here in the article that he met her overseas. And unfortunately, the culture in a lot of these places is to give one's daughter or son away to people for exchanges of money, so to speak. Oh, well, this person has money. They're way older than you, old enough to be your parent, probably grandparent, or just an inappropriate age gap. But they're rich. You can send money back home. You can help the family. Go with them. It's something that's been normalized in a lot of cultures, but it is not normal and it is not right. I don't care what anybody says. So this may have been a way that he somehow got her mixed up with him to begin with. Allegedly. And I quote, the lawsuit also states that Jane Doe was compelled to ingest an unknown substance before she learned that it was or contained the drug ketamine and/or other substances, which caused her to black out and lose consciousness intermittently. Later, she took a pregnancy test, which was positive. End quote. Once again, these celebrities and a lot of people who have a good amount of money know how to draw people in. They know that people want to be taken care of. They know that women want to be taken care of, which, like I've said before, there's nothing wrong with that. But to use it against somebody, to hold it over their head, to say, hey, I know that you want to, have a little bit better of a lifestyle. You want to make sure that your bills get paid. You want to make sure you don't struggle. I can make that happen. But there's a catch-22 behind it. Everything that you take is laced. Every other thing that you take has something spiked in it. You got to do all these kind of crazy things, whether you're consenting to it or not. That is wrong. That is completely wrong, y'all. Now, I'm a firm believer in relationships that we should be reciprocal. But there's a difference between being reciprocal and transactional. Being reciprocal is, oh, I love you, so I do these things for you out of my love for you. And then you love me, you do these things for me out of your love for me, versus I did this for you, so now you're going to do this for me whether you want to or not. That is transactional, and it is of the devil. Now, there have been people who have been doing deep dives. The channel RRG not too long ago made a video where they were explaining how, for all these people that were saying, oh, well, you drank it willingly, there were times where he wouldn't even allow people to come into the party, leave the party, or just be at the party in peace without taking a sip from a drink. Nobody should have to be worried about, okay, I'm here to make appearances. I'm trying to make connections so that I can move up to the next level in the industry. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what they tell you have to do. They shouldn't have to be worried about their drink being spiked. And a lot of these little parties that they like to throw, if you're not drinking and socializing and doing what they want you to do, then they're putting you out. They make it that way in the industry on purpose. This has been exposed multiple times. Nobody should have to worry, once again, about having their drink spiked. Nobody should have to be looking over their shoulder at a social event because the person hosting the party, or it's been a well-known secret, whether people want to believe this or not, allegedly, y'all know I have to say allegedly, right? In the industry, that drinks get spiked. None of this should come as a surprise. None of this being stated in this article should shock anybody. These allegations should not shock anybody. And I quote, the lawsuit alleges that the City Girls rapper Young Miami, whose legal name is Caresha Brown Lee and is the apparent ex-girlfriend of Combs, harassed Jane Doe, repeatedly calling her and telling her to have an abortion. The Jane Doe later had a miscarriage and claims she did not speak to Combs or members of his camp for 3 months, end quote. So essentially, Caresha please, Young Miami, some of these people's favorite city girl rapper, for whatever reason, was out here allegedly harassing that young woman so much because she got pregnant for P.Diddy Combs that the young woman ended up having a miscarriage. Now, I don't know if she had intentions on keeping the baby. It seemed like she may have, but now that's all out of the window because of what happened to her. And if y'all don't believe that somebody can put somebody through so much hell and stress that they can miscarriage, you better think again. It's very sad that she would do that to that young lady. It's also very believable. Let me be real honest. I have to say allegedly, obviously. But it's very believable. And you know why? Because wasn't she on the internet not too long ago talking about how she wanted to have a baby for P.Diddy Combs? How she wanted twins? How she thought that her chances would be better because Kim Porter had twins? She wanted a baby by him so bad, despite him showing her every single way that he could, except blatantly telling her that he did not want to have a baby with her because his type ain't black women. And just because he had a child by a black woman and then 3 more by Kim Porter does not mean that his type is black women. You would think she would wake up and smell the coffee, but clearly she's one of the types that's stuck on stupid, clearly. If you all will remember, just recently she got into it with DJ Academics because he was throwing it in her face that P.Diddy Combs came out with that mystery child for that Asian lady and was talking about, I bet you're punching air right now because you wish that was you. And she was going back and forth with him like she was mighty upset. And everybody was saying, tell us without telling us that you're really upset that he chose to have a baby with that woman and not you. Because even though she was trying to make it seem like she was not, she wouldn't have went back and forth with DJ Academics if she wasn't the way that she did. Once again, y'all know I have to say allegedly, although I wouldn't put it past Young Miami. It's just sad that she did that to that woman. People can say what they want to because the child was his, but at the end of the day, that was a life that is now gone, partially because of the stress that she may have allegedly put that woman through, allegedly harassing her, telling her constantly to have an abortion. If we want to be real and look at it from a spiritual aspect, which I'm going to do anyways, low-key, her telling that girl to have an abortion was low-key speaking evil on her, speaking death upon that baby. People act like they don't know, but they better get it together and act like they do know. The Bible didn't lie when it said death and life lies in the power of the tongue. And if she didn't know what to do, how to rebuke that off of her and off of her baby, to speak life over her own self, her own baby, especially in the middle of all the hell she was going through, and then have the mind to gather herself together and get away from all of that, to try and separate herself from the stress and the confusion and the craziness. And that's going off of if she could even get away from him, because remember, these people were threatening people's lives not to leave. Like I said, I feel bad for her. And I quote, "Then in late 2022, as the lawsuit alleges, Combs began communicating with the Jane Doe again, began compelling her to travel with and to him. He would harass her through text messages, calls, third parties, until she agreed, according to court filings," end quote. Y'all know I have to say allegedly, right? After all of that, he had the audacity to still try and call this woman up to make her be involved with him. Once again, how do you deal with a situation where you're a regular person dealing with regular issues that regular people have to deal with? And you've got a whole celebrity who's a millionaire harassing you, calling you, texting you, probably getting other people to come and see you. You got bills to pay and they disrupting your whole life because they want to keep messing with you, harassing you, disrespecting you, traumatizing you, abusing you, fulfilling the lust of their desires by using you in heinous ways that you did not and don't want to consent to being used. Going through all of this allegedly, only whenever you finally come out and file a lawsuit to be told by people on the internet who don't know anything anyways, that you're a liar, you don't know what you're talking about, that you're not a victim, that you asked for it, you kept going back to him, why didn't you walk away? It's crazy. We live in a crazy world, y'all. And they got people who actually want to live forever in this raggedy behind world. That's a different conversation for another day. But these are usually the people that's causing all the issues with all the money anyways. But this is the kind of world that we're dealing with. This is the kind of society and community that people are dealing with for real out here in real time. For real, like I said. And I quote, "During her visits to Combs, the lawsuit states he made the alleged victim perform a show for him, giving her alcohol and other substances until she ultimately passed out. Then she would wake up with no recollection of what occurred or how she had injuries," end quote. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Unfortunately, there's more. And I quote, "The alleged behavior continued until July of this year. During an instance in July, the lawsuit states Jane Doe tried drinking water which tasted strange and made her feel unwell. The next morning, she felt ill and confused and could not remember what happened the night before, and the bedroom was in disarray." The lawsuit alleges that during a 4-year span, Combs consistently pressured her into the bedroom, adding other men and women despite her saying she did not want others involved. He made threatening jokes, and the alleged victim feared for her safety if she failed to comply with his demands. The lawsuit says, noting she was also forced to witness him slap and abuse other women. The lawsuit also alleges Combs tracked her location, monitored her conversations. He would refer to statements made by her when Combs was not present. He discouraged the alleged victim from working, the lawsuit states, and when she would try to be financially independent, Combs would pay her an allowance as a form of control. She complied with his behavior, the lawsuit claims, out of fear of what he would do if she said no, end quote. Now, before we go further, let's do a quick summary of all of what has been alleged according to this young woman who has filed this lawsuit under the name of Jane Doe. She got involved with P.Diddy Combs when she was overseas. He was the one who pursued her. That's what it said in there. That's what it alleges. That's what it's alluding to. She got involved with him after he expressed interest in her, only for her drinks and etc. to be spiked, her to be waking up with stuff done to her, damage done to her, bruises that she doesn't know what happened, how she got. We all know that something happened. It was something horrendous. There's no telling the amount of medical bills she had to deal with, considering what was done to her. And that's if she even was able to get to a hospital to get some kind of medical attention. Then after the whole incident of being harassed by his fake girlfriend, who was always making these very prideful, arrogant, and disrespectful, overly sexualized displays on social media until the point where she had a miscarriage, allegedly. Then she cuts off contact with them for 3 months until he harasses her into being back with him, allegedly. Only to do the same things all over again, but basically worse. What it seems like to me, allegedly, is he was trying to force her to participate in what sounds like one of those alleged freak-offs. That's what it seemed like to me, allegedly. She was basically saying, allegedly, if you're going to force me to be here with you and do certain things, at least don't force me to be here with you doing certain things and making me do them also with other people, along with having to watch him, allegedly, abuse other women. Remember the Dawn lawsuit? I'm going to keep referencing that for a while whenever she said she witnessed him going upside Cassie's head, allegedly. She allegedly saw Kim Porter leaving the studio with a messed up lip with tears in her eyes. That's traumatizing. They also mentioned how he allegedly was listening to her conversations, had her devices tapped because he would bring up stuff that she said when she was not in his presence. Now, it could have also been somebody going back and telling him, but this wouldn't be the first time somebody has alleged that some devices were tapped by him, because remember, there was somebody making allegations not too long ago that there was another woman, an Asian woman, and they think that it's Dana Tran, who he was in league with, who knew a lot about technology, who was a tech person, or who was involved or knew a tech person who he was directly using, and they were using their tech expertise to tap Kim Porter's devices to make sure they knew where she was at all times, to know who she was involved with, who she was talking to, what she was considering doing. This is very sick, y'all, and that's also another way that abusers keep tabs on their victims. This should not come as a surprise, especially if you are familiar with these kind of tactics. Once again, these are the tactics that abusers use to try and control and harass their victims. It doesn't always have to do with, oh, well, maybe they should just walk away. Once again, that's absolutely stupid for somebody to say, especially if you have not been through that or you don't know anybody who's been through it. Because it's not always dealing with, most of the time not dealing with, oh, the woman just doesn't want to leave him alone. Because there are plenty of women, once the guy goes upside their head, they're trying to get away, but the guy won't let them. That's what the issue is. The abuser just wants to abuse them. He doesn't want them to go away. He doesn't want her to leave him alone, to just break up with him. Now, sometimes they will have men that will beat up women because they're like, I'm tired of you being around me. I just want you to break up with me. And I'm feeling like me beating you is the only way that's going to happen. But 9 times out of 10, the abuser is abusing the woman because he's sick in the head. He's demonically possessed. He's walking with the devil. He's giving into everything that he wants to that's evil. He has an issue and he's taking it out on her. And it doesn't matter if she leaves, he's still going to want to abuse her. That's why they do things like tap their phones, put tracking devices in their cars, because that's another thing that some abusers do to their victims. They try to track them down. Like, remember whenever Cassie alleged in the lawsuit, and that, what was it, like 58-page or 36-page lawsuit? Whenever she alleged that whenever she finally was able to escape him and get into her own apartment, he tracked her down, allegedly, broke and entered, and allegedly R-worded her right in her own apartment. So once again, the abusers just want to abuse. That's why they need to be thrown under the prison, because they will not stop until they've broken these people or they've deleted them. Or they just keep having access to keep abusing them because that's what they get off on. Once again, I want to bring this up and I want to point attention to that for people who didn't know, and for the stupid, ignorant people in the back who keep saying, why didn't she walk away? Why didn't she just leave? Why did she go back? It's kind of hard to walk away from an abuser who's keeping tabs on you because they've tapped your devices. They're stalking you. They won't let you leave because they're threatening your life. In case anybody didn't know, it's hard to walk away in that kind of situation and still have your safety, your sanity, and your life. Now, remember when I brought up in a previous video, for any of you who have been following me for a little while, you've been seeing all my videos that I posted, when I mentioned that young Miami was trash raggedy because she was out here telling this particular person, who I won't mention in this video by name, who a lot of people think is the Jane Doe in this lawsuit, filing this lawsuit, who she told she was going to force on her knees, essentially. Like how P. Combs was allegedly out here doing things to people. I guess people thought that I was joking, or people thought that was a joke when I mentioned that. People didn't actually believe. They didn't want to believe that she actually had put that on social media, even though we all saw it with our own eyes. And nobody wanted to actually acknowledge how bad and raggedy that really was. Just like men can get in trouble for threatening to R-word or assault somebody, women can get in trouble for the same thing. But I feel like it was glossed over because it was young Miami. She was going back and forward, trying to get into it with this one young lady, like I said, whose name will be unnamed in this video, over P. Combs, because they had all been involved with him to some degree at some point, with her concerning her unwillingly, as she alleges. But she was just mad, I guess, at the woman because she had got pregnant for him at one point in time. And then the young lady made a post basically saying it's really ridiculous for you to be trying to fight with me over a dude who got some other chick pregnant, who he allowed to have the baby, who he didn't have an issue with having the baby. It's really ridiculous, and it really was. It's giving you're fighting one girl over a guy who don't care about either of y'all, clearly. Maybe not even care about women really at all, because any guy that treats women like the way P. Combs has allegedly does not care for women, does not love women, point period blank. Now, I don't appreciate the fact that she used the whole, the ninja word. Now, I don't know in the original post if she actually said NIGGA, or if she just used, if I'm not mistaken, she just used the ninja emoji. That's what it says here. Now, y'all know how I feel about these non-black individuals using the N-word. I guess they try to smooth it over by saying ninja. I would prefer people say that over the actual N-word, but still. But we're going to move past that because that's not what's important for this situation. The gist of what she said was correct, though. Her telling young Miami, you're ridiculous for fighting with me over a guy that does not care about either of us. She was right for calling that out, especially if this city girl, I'm trying not to say something else, trying not to call her something else, was actually out here allegedly doing all of what she did to her. She has the right to call her out. And her response was, I'm not going to actually quote what she said because she said some mad disrespectful stuff to that girl and dropped all kinds of disrespectful names and curse words. It was unrealistic. It was just unnecessary. Called this young lady all out of her name. Said, oh, you just been wanting a baby for XYZ this amount of time. You're the type to basically go down on a man, then go down on a woman. Called her a racial slur because I don't care what any of y'all say. Calling an Asian woman sushi is disrespectful. It's mad disrespectful and it's racist. I don't care what anybody says. Then threw it in her face as she went on to a certain YouTuber's platform to talk about all of what she had experienced because of P. Combs and said, oh, you just went over there because you wanted a baby so bad. It's giving, once again, if you wanted a baby from P. Combs and you're mad because she actually ended up pregnant with one before you harassed her into her having a miscarriage allegedly, just say that. Because it seems like a bunch of projection to me. Besides the whole baby thing that she kept throwing in this woman's face, what also took the cake was when she said, and I quote, if I wanted you to eat my you-know-what, Diddy would have put you on your knees, and then proceeded to call her out of her name once again. Once again, I need y'all to realize that this is blatantly one woman threatening to essentially R-word another woman. You trying to force somebody to go down on you is still RAPE. I don't care what anybody says. And for that, she needs to be thrown under the women's prison, just like P. Combs needs to be thrown under the men's prison. Because how do I know if she's this bold to say something like this? How do I know, or how do I don't know she hasn't already made somebody do this before? How do we know? Because she was attached to P. Combs' hip. She was like two peas in a pod, apparently. Him and her is how she was talking about her relationship with P. Combs. So if he was out here allegedly making people go down on people, making people have sex with other people, forcing people to do things against their consent, and she just bragged about how she could do the same thing with P. Combs to her, how do I know she hasn't done the same thing as well? Somebody on YouTube in the comments said, and I quote, "I'm getting ghetto Ghislaine Maxwell vibes from Young Miami," end quote. And I happen to agree, because remember what I was saying whenever we were defining what trafficking is and who the people who traffic people can be. They could be quite literally anybody. There will be sometimes women making other women have sex with people. Men will use women, or they'll blow up another woman's head like P.Diddy Combs has clearly done. Young Miami, y'all know I have to say allegedly, and have them out here either coercing, manipulating, or forcing other women to do things that they don't want to do. Kind of falls in that category when you think about it. And even if it's not trafficking, it's morbidly disgusting, and she still needs to be thrown under the prison for it. Another person said, and I quote, "Bobby and Whitney were married. Whitney was a star and never accused of being an S-worker. Miami, you could never." And they were saying that because apparently, allegedly, in some posts, she tried to compare herself and P.Diddy Combs while she was hugging him from the back to being like Bobby and Whitney. And I happen to agree. Yes, I understand that Bobby and Whitney had their issues, but at least they were actually married. Let me say that again for the people in the back. P.Diddy Combs didn't even respect Young Miami enough to claim her as his girlfriend. He claimed her as his shoddy wop, or whatever you call it, on a podcast. Didn't even say, "Oh, thanks to my girl, my current girl," but gave some kind of shout out, whatever you want to call that. I feel like he was taking shots at Cassie when he said that. I don't want to say he was giving her props or whatever. I feel like he was taking shots at her when he acknowledged her during that speech. Didn't even mention an inkling of Young Miami, who was standing there like an absolute idiot holding that sign up. Meanwhile, her friend, her actual friend, JT, was trying to get her to sit down so she wouldn't look ridiculous. And how did she repay her friend once again? Her and her other friend, Santana, giving her the boot, telling her to go make music with somebody else, allegedly, even though JT just wanted to make music with her. Just not being woman enough to tell JT, "I don't want to make music with you no more because I'm too busy exploiting myself with P. Diddy. That's what I care about more, instead of my relationship with friends as a friend with you and our music career." Like I said before, I honestly believe that she did JT dirty. I don't know much about the City Girls because I don't listen to that kind of music. I think it's very detrimental to the community and the image of black women. But from the few things I have seen their exchanges, it's definitely a one-sided friendship, which it looks like JT's the one who was trying to make everything flow while she was throwing her under the bus. Now, speaking of Santana, somebody else in the comments of YouTube said, and I quote, "Diddy was really dating Saucy Santana, while Miami was just a cover-up," end quote. Now, there are some people I've been seeing that has been saying this. I don't know how true that is. That's just something that somebody speculated down in the comments, something somebody alleged. Would I believe it? Oh, absolutely, because these celebrities are capable of anything, and the most disgusting and disturbing things. We didn't already seen that. Too much has happened for us to not know that by now. Another person in the comments said Young Miami should get whatever is coming because she was so down for all of it. She wanted to still be around Diddy. Just like McDonald's, her behind was ba-da-ba-ba-ba, loving it. It's a doggone shame, and it really is. Once again, like the old saints used to say, it's a shame before the Lord. Some of the stuff that these people will do for money. And you know what was even more shameful? The black people who were co-signing her behavior because she's black. Oh, well, do what you have to do to get the bag. But then when you also got to sit in a prison cell with the person who you did it with, because the person who you did it with to get the bag was out here doing horrible things to people, congratulations, you done set up and listened to these stupid people on the internet, and you made stupid decisions yourself because you don't have any sense of self-control or self-respect. Now you have to pay the consequences. Y'all got to learn how to be careful who y'all listen to, telling y'all to just be out there doing whatever because money's involved. Meanwhile, they're not going to be the ones in jail or prison, like I said, with you paying the consequences. You will, because you did it. Somebody else mentioned in the comments that she has a kid. I don't know if she has more than one, but that she has at least one kid. Does she not think about this before she goes onto social media and says things like she likes to be peed on? Does she not think that her child might see this, that their friends in school might see this and laugh and say, "Oh, this is your mom"? That'll be an embarrassment and a reproach onto her child. And the same goes for the men who do these things too. Don't think I'm just throwing shade at the women. But people, do they not think, Like, this stuff is on social media. It's never going to go away. There's always somebody screen recording, screenshotting. They're going to replay this somewhere. And your child has to watch you sit up and talk about a man who's probably going to spend the rest of his days in prison, allegedly. Oh, I like it when he does XYZ to me. That's embarrassing. That's disgusting. I wouldn't even want to, let me be honest, I wouldn't even want to claim my mama if she did some hot mess like that. Especially if she was out here threatening to put other women on their knees. I don't even know that woman, if that's the case. I don't even know that woman. And as soon as I get enough money, I'm changing my name. Once again, somebody else said on the YouTube comments, and I quote, telling the world that you like being urinated on is the epitome of attention-seeking behavior, lacking class and low self-esteem. What a clown. And the person underneath them said, big clown indeed. Big clown energy indeed. I didn't say it before. Clearly what she's lacking is self-respect. And of course, God in her life. Because if she had those two and some kind of self-love, she wouldn't be doing these things. I don't care how hard things get. I don't care how many bills you got. There ought to be some things that you refuse to do for money. Now, I can see if you were being forced to do these things. That's a different story. That's a different conversation to have. But you willingly went up and got yoked up with a man that I know that she knew was doing bad things. These celebrities be knowing long before the average Janes and Joes and the rest of us here on this YouTube, on this internet, be knowing. She's not stupid. Well, she's not that stupid. And she's not ignorant either. She knew exactly what she was doing when she got involved with him. I said before, some of these people don't have parents who love them and raise them properly. But at the end of the day, once they reach adulthood, they are responsible for their own actions. You can do one or two things. I say this all the time in response to trauma and not having parents there to guide you, love you, show you affection and attention. You can either do better, learn how to do better, and fight with all of your determination and might to make the most out of your life and who you are, be the best version of you. Get that relationship with God that I always tell people about so you can know his will for your life and do it, and everything will go as best as it can for you. This is life. It won't be perfect. Everything won't be sunshine and rainbows, but you can still have some things work out for you if you do the right thing. Or you can be an absolute hellion to everybody in society, everybody you come across. Ruin people's lives because you're messed up in the head. You are messed up in your heart. You got problems. It's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Now, one other thing somebody else mentioned in the comments is that allegedly he was out here doing all this stuff, all this sexual activity, this deviant activity, this ungodly activity without a condom on, allegedly. I just know the diseases are running amok. That's why I don't understand when people are so lustful they can't control themselves, having multiple partners. First of all, you're clearly not the type of person who would be a good parent, let alone a responsible one. You're going to end up leaving them with somebody else, and that child's going to grow up to repeat the same cycle because you hurt them first by not being a good parent, by not being a present parent because you were so worried about fulfilling the lust of your flesh. And I also don't understand why people don't think, again, sexually transmitted diseases. Even if you don't get somebody pregnant, there's a chance you could get something. That should be enough to keep people's legs closed, to keep people from whipping their junk out, so to speak. But clearly not. Clearly I was wrong. The risk of having a disease that will make you burn, itch, have all kind of other problems, and possibly die, or have a child that you know you don't want to take care of, which is sad and raggedy, is not enough to stop people from having unprotected sex or forcing themselves on people unprotected. We live in a pitiful world. We live in a disgusting world, y'all. Anyways, let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel about all of this down in the comments below respectfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all all have a very blessed, beautiful, and safe day.